Come through, Luigi, come on. We're gonna get all of y'all. Every one of you. How's it going, y'all? It's Ben, and today I am trying out the Leapao Z1 portable monitor. This is a 1080p monitor that is really awesome, and a company called Leapao sent this to me. I'll leave links to buy this in the description below, but I will say right now that I am enjoying the hell out of this little monitor. This has really been fun to hook up my Nintendo Switch and also my iPad Pro. I also hooked up my Apple TV to it. It has a really awesome set of features at a really low price. This is under $200. So the Leapao monitor is a 15.6 diagonal width. This is the iPad Pro 11-inch. You can see how much bigger the Leapao screen is than the iPad Pro. It's really lightweight. It feels like it's maybe like a pound and a half or something, a buck and a half. And it's an IPS display, which means the angles, you know, if you're like to the side or to the front, you know, the viewing angles are pretty good overall. You can plug a USB-C compliant phone into this. I tried plugging my iPhone 11 Pro into this using a Lightning to USB-C cable, and it didn't work. I could not get that to work for some reason. So as far as inputs, on the left side of the device, you see a mini HDMI input, a USB-C input, and then there is a 3.5mm headphone jack. And then on the right side of the monitor, there's a USB-C power port for certain devices like the Nintendo Switch and an Apple TV. When you connect those devices via USB-C here, this display won't come on until you plug in a USB-C cable that's connected to a power port. And underneath the USB-C power port on the right is a little dial, which is for, you know, adjusting the settings. You can adjust contrast, brightness, and stuff like that. And then underneath that, there's a little power button. The back is pretty straightforward. It has this kind of brushed plastic, fake aluminum type feel. So the build quality for $200, it feels nice and snappy, and I appreciate how minimal this thing is. It only has that one little logo over here, and there's not a whole lot to it. It's, you know, there's no like HDMI this or USB-C, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's very minimal in terms of branding and design, which I like. But in terms of build quality, it's not the best built monitor in the world. It feels like if you drop this thing a few times, you probably will dent the crap out of it, to be honest. But it does come with this magnetic kind of base thing that's also a case for it. It has this kind of faux leather feel on the outside, and it also acts as a magnetic holder for the display. So you can see I just popped on the display. So when you're taking it on the go, you basically just close it up almost like a giant iPad or something, and then when you're ready to hook it up again, you just kind of put it into place. And there are a couple grooves in the case built into it, so you have a couple viewing angles. You have this one right here, which is kind of more of an upright, and if you want more of an angle, there's a second little indentation in the case right there. The front of the display has a kind of semi-gloss, but mostly, actually no, it looks more like a matte kind of finish. So there is a little bit of reflection if you have, you know, like a light behind you or something, as you can see. But overall, you know, if there's no light reflecting on it, it looks really good. And I really appreciate that in the box, they give you a USB-C to USB-C cable. They also give you an HDMI to mini HDMI cable, so that's what you would use to hook up like an Apple TV or any other HDMI source like a laptop. And it also comes with a USB-C to USB-A power cable, which goes into a little power block. So all of that is provided in the box. You don't have to buy extra accessories to get this thing going. So let's say you want to plug in your iPad Pro into this monitor to get a bigger display. So on one side of the iPad Pro, you plug in a USB-C cable, and then you plug the other end of the USB-C cable into the portable display, and then your monitor will come on and it'll mirror the display of the iPad Pro. And this cable, I don't know if it's the cable connection between the iPad Pro and the display, just the slightest little jiggle of this cable will turn off this entire display. So that's my first con that I noticed, and I'm actually gonna switch out this USB-C included cable with another USB-C to USB-C cable to see if it's just the cable, or maybe it's the port, or maybe it's just the device. I'm gonna try out the official Apple USB-C cable. This is one of those long ones, so let's see if this works better. It says no signal. Interesting. Power saving This screen goes into power saving mode really easily and nothing's happening. It says no signal. So that Apple cable is not working either. Let's try the original cable. Please work, maybe? Yeah, no? It keeps going in and out of getting a signal versus not getting a signal because it seems like any tiny touch on this cable or the iPad is going to make the monitor go off. So one of the cool things about hooking up an iPad to a monitor such as this one is all it takes is a USB-C cable and it'll draw power from the iPad into the monitor. So right now the monitor is freestanding on its own without extra power. It's powered by the iPad Pro. So it's a really portable, awesome setup. So when you're using an iPad Pro with a monitor like the Li-Pao Z1, there's gonna be these black bars on the sides of the screen because that's more of an iPad OS issue. That's not an issue with the screen. But there are certain apps which support a full screen external monitor from the iPad Pro. For example, there's, Netflix. Let's see, I'll choose Spider-Man. So now we have Spider-Man playing in full screen on the external monitor, and you can kind of control it and stuff from your iPad. So basically your iPad almost turns into an Apple TV. You just plug it in with a USB-C cable and then you're good to go. Just don't jiggle the cable because this thing might turn on and off. But the screen quality, as you can see, is really good. It's actually really, really sharp. I wasn't expecting too much for the price of under $200, but the colors look really nice. You can even go into the settings and mess with, stuff like brightness and contrast and black level. The little menu is pretty intuitive, but right out of the box, I think the colors actually look really nice. There's also an HDR mode in here, which I don't really think looks really good. The HDR mode basically just makes everything look almost way too bright and way too contrasty. So I just keep the HDR mode off. So now I'm gonna try my Nintendo Switch. So I put the USB cable in the USB-C side of the Switch and then plug the other side into the Li-Pao monitor. It doesn't draw power from the Switch or the Apple TV, so you have to plug in an external USB-C cable into the right side USB-C power port. One thing that's actually cool about that is you can have this if you're in the middle of nowhere and you have like a little portable battery. You can plug the power port from the USB-C side on the screen into your power bank, so you can actually be playing Nintendo Switch in the middle of nowhere without having to plug any of this into an external, bigger power source. And as you can see, now we have my Nintendo Switch on this portable display. It's not the biggest display in the world, but I really like actually how small it is because it makes more sense for something like a smaller desk or a small studio situation where I don't necessarily need like a gigantic, 30, 40 inch TV or display. This display has a refresh rate of 60 Hertz, which is plenty for Nintendo Switch. I don't notice a single bit of blipping or slowdowns or anything weird. It's just smooth as silk. The colors are not as vibrant as my TV, but it's a tiny display for under $200. One of the weird things though is when you go into the YouTube app or the Hulu app on Nintendo Switch hooked up to this monitor, I couldn't find any way to get the audio to pipe into my speakers. I didn't hear anything. I tried to adjust settings on both the Switch and the monitor, and I just could not get any audio out in YouTube and in the Hulu app. But when you're playing games and stuff, it's totally fine. You can hear the audio just fine. Gaming is super fun on this device, and it's probably what I would use this monitor for the most. It's just when I want to play a little Switch, take a little break or whatever, just plug in that USB-C cable, plug in the power port on the monitor, and then I have a much bigger screen for my Nintendo Switch that I can take on the go. So now I have my Apple TV hooked into the display. I'm messing with the cable here, and it actually seems like the HDMI port is maybe a little more stable than the USB-C, and it looks really good. It looks really sharp. The colors are not as saturated as the iPad Pro or a MacBook Pro, but just going into my normal apps and interacting with everything, I mean, this looks really good. It's got full 1080p. Sometimes with a kind of cheaper display, you'll see a little bit of bleeding of the light on the sides of the display. I don't see any of that going on here, so that's really cool. But the Apple TV does need its own power, so you won't be able to take this, to the middle of nowhere. But again, for like a desktop kind of situation, this is really handy to just whip out, like a smaller 15-inch display and have that where you don't have to mess around with a gigantic screen and like a ton of cables and stuff. Overall, I think this is a really powerful and portable, lightweight, sleek, minimal, awesome little display. The colors on this display look really nice. The details are nice and sharp. It's not 4K level crispiness, but overall this is very impressive for under $200. I wish the colors were a little more saturated, and I wouldn't necessarily say this is the most accurate representation of color, but for just casual use, for casual gaming, I think this display packs a lot of punch. If you have any questions about this monitor, let me know in the comments below. I love to see y'all down there. So if you're not already subscribed, smash that subscribe button below, smash the like button if you found this video useful or slightly entertaining. And if you want to support me even more, you can check out some of my music by searching for Ben Aqua on Spotify and Apple Music, etc. And you'll find all my music there. Be sure to follow me on Spotify. You can also check out my merchandise, such as the shirt that I'm wearing right here, on benaqua.shop. All my shirts and art prints and accessories and stuff are on benaqua.shop. So I really appreciate the support. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.